Yes. Okay. Lauren, say hello.
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 Mm-hmm.
All right, this is all we're doing.
Just so you send it.
Yeah, you can just send it that, but for now, you.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no, I may ask you first.
Yeah. You can text me out. No, that's fine. And then, we have more guests than normal today. As part of a family that's probably all coming together. You know, they should be on something, otherwise we'll try to stuff it, you know. You just plan this. Yeah.
What is saying yes?
I wish there was like a level thing, right? Like it
Can
should
you
be.
get a little toolbox?
Yeah, no, that's.
Like, tell us it on top.
That's a accessory pass. Oh, you know what we need?
Is it on?
Yes.
In here?
Yes.
Oh, hello.
Yeah. I just have to grab the.
Okay.
Oh.
They came last night.
Yes.
They luckily they had it on their phone.
Yeah, yeah. Scott someone is, I may be best for me. Oh, yeah. Michael Scott. He's a part of this group. So that's, she gave me these. So I got it this morning. You want? Yes, yeah, this is, Zucker. Okay. Zucker said it was Violet and Zucker, all right. I need everyone.
Running through by. What? Friday out work.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not getting it great.
They came in the last minute.
Yeah, I know, she's got to send them.
That's why I can't.
Yeah, she got to send them Thursday night.
Well, that's what we get. That's the thing.
So anyway, putting aside the ability to manipulate that, it was just kind of a fun, like, it was just a fun introduction for the kids.
Oh, 100%. I think that's the way to go, to be honest with you. Like the generation of sort of here's the checklist of things to do and march the kid up there and, you know, assume that everybody in the room knows exactly what's going on. It's just ludicrous, right? I mean, and there's almost in no circumstance do I go in assuming that everybody knows what's going on. And when I do a wedding, I'd say, I don't know, a good 30% of it is just explaining stuff. You know, and it's generally appreciated because most people in general would like to know what they're a part of, even if they're, you know, not themselves part of the religion. I would, you know, hope if I went to, you know, christening or a baptism or something, that there'd be, yeah, some description of what's going on. But, oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I was going to say.
And like my sister, this is like, you know, my sister,
Yeah, sister.
it's like they're first, you know, it's just, it's not good, bad, it's just.
No. It's not, none of it is good, bad. Right? It's, I think what it is just know thyself a little bit, right? So each community, you got to know kind of who you're with and what the expectations are and what your values are and what you want to emphasize, because you can't do everything, right? Eva's going this week. We have to take out a second mortgage to pay for it, but you know.
When you even God are atheists, and she's like, most of the people in the house are atheists, so I don't even God.
Yeah.
And
So I oftentimes point out, I think people misuse the word atheist. Most people in that category are agnostic. Atheism is a belief system. You believe in the fact that there is nothing, right? Agnosticism basically says, I don't know what it is. It's not a major concern for me, whether it's defined, you know, whatever it is. No, because I think actually it changes the conversation greatly, right? It's, you know,
it does change the conversation,
right?
but it just seemed like that. It's a great conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Special wedding,
Oh, no, for sure. I mean, that's the thing is like, it's a long story as to how it is she ended up in this camp as opposed to the one that she was supposed to go to and all that. And since we're streaming, I don't want to get into the details at the moment, but I'm like, I looked at it, I was like, this right up my alley. This is great. This is going to establish my relationship with my child over video games. It's going to be wonderful. You know, legitimized. Nobody has to, you know. No, Eva is 5 and like a third at this point. Emmett's like 7. Yeah, and wow, like hilarious. Yeah, this is 7, going to my 7th year. Hey, now I have another rabbi in the room. Tell this guy about sabbaticals. I don't think any of them are aware of what the concept is. So, you know, just another point. Just, you know, mention the fact that rabbis have these things called sabbaticals periodically when they get to 7 years. I was gonna say, well, no, he's on my side. They've got a couple other guys. Well, that's a whole different story. Well, in theory, yes. You know what? In theory, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up. We'll go to Israel for a while and hang out. How's that? So, guys, welcome. Shabbat shalom. Come on in. Good to see you. I think you may be the first of the family to come in. Everybody, whether you knew it or not, there's enough for today. So we got something wonderful to celebrate. So anyway, make yourselves at home. Take a seat wherever you're comfortable. Restrooms around the corner, all that. It's nice to have people.
I know.
Right?
It's really
It's good. Last couple of weeks, it's been like a private show for Howard. Which is... No, that's that's what we figured it would roll out as it rolls out, you know. And but it's also part of my theory that without the kiddush, you know, if you can't promise herring to the people, we should have a to-go herring cup. And we're done. Just, you know, it's like communion, Jewish communion. Just, you know, the body of the fish. Anyway, good Shabbos to everybody. Howard, we're gonna get started here, and the way these microphones go is they pick up everything. Cantor, maybe we'll start singing. Want someone to sing?
Just a little bit.
Yeah, let's do the thing. Let's be consistent. Okay, Shabbat Shalom, everyone here. Shabbat Shalom to everyone there. We're going to begin our service together, page 186. Turn now to page 192, Matov. Let's turn now to page 195. I'll read together in English at the top of the page. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life. For one of them to fail, how well we are aware, we would lack the strength to stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, source of our health and strength. Baruch atah Adonai, rofech kol basar umachli lasot. Let's turn now to page 196. Turn now to page 198 and we rise in body or spirit. Nisim b'chol yom. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lasafi bina lafid meyom v'layla. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokech kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rokaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechin mitzadei gaber. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish harumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanoten layav koach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Amavir Shina Meinai Utuma Me'afakai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shasani b'tzelem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shasani bet chorim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shasani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Ozer Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Ozer Yisrael b'tifara. Please be seated. Turn now to page 204. We'll begin by reading together in Hebrew at the very top of the page and then the English at the bottom. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asot b'divrei Torah. O Adonai our God, let the words of Torah be sweet in our mouths and the mouths of your people Israel, so that we, our descendants, and the descendants of all your people Israel, may know you by studying your Torah for its own sake. Blessed are you, Adonai, who teaches Torah to your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai hamelamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. We're now on page 206. Elu devarim she'ein lahem shur, sh'adam ochel pirotehem ba'olam hazeh, ve'al keren kayemet lo le'olam haba, ve'elu hen kibur havaim u'gmilut chasadim, ve'hashgamat beit hamidrash shacharit ve'arabit, והכנסת אורחים וביקור חולים, והכנסת כלה לוויית המת ועיון תפילה, והבאת שלום בין אדם לחברו, ותלמוד תורה כנגד כולם. We rise in body or spirit as we turn to page 212 for the opening blessing of Pizukei Tezimra. Baruch Shehamar Ha'olam Baruch Hu Baruch Oseh Bereshit Baruch Omer Ve'oseh Baruch Gozer U'Mekayem Baruch Merachem Al Haaretz Baruch Merachem Al Habriot Baruch Meshalem Sachar Tov L'Re'av Baruch Alad V'Kayam L'Netzach Baruch Bodeh U'Matzil Baruch Shemo Bishvachot U'Bizmirot Nagadelcha U'Nshabechecha Nefayerecha V'Nazkir Shimcha V'Namlichecha Malkeinu Eloheinu Yachid Che'olamim Melech Meshubach U'Mufar Adei Shemo HaGadol Baruch Atah Adonai Melech Mehulal Atishvachot. Please be seated. We're on page 214, second line down. Tov lehodot Adonai. Tov lehodot Adonai. Ulezamer L'shimcha Elyon. Tov lehodot Adonai. Lehagid baboker chastecha. Lehagid baboker chastecha. Ve'emunatcha b'leilot, ve'emunatcha b'leilot. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Alei asur v'alei navel, alei higayon bechinor. Yisimchtani Adonai befoalecha, b'maaseh yadecha ranehem. Agadu maasecha yam, me'od amku machshevotecha. Agadu maasecha yam, me'od amku machshevotecha. Agadu maasecha yam, me'od amku machshevotecha. Now on page 215. Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha. Oh dear hallelujah, oh dear hallelujah. Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha. Oh dear hallelujah, oh dear hallelujah. Selah. Anachnu nevarech ya me'ata ve'ad olam, me'ata ve'ad olam, me'ata ve'ad olam. Alleluia. Hallelujah. 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 Psalm 150, page 218. Hallelujah, 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 El Bekocho, hallelujah, Kiyahuzo, hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 take a shofar. Hallelujah, Benebel Bechinon. Hallelujah, Betoful Machon. Hallelujah, Beminim Beruga. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, Betil Tei Shama. Hallelujah, Betil Tei Shua. Kol Shama, Te Hallelujah. Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Nishmat kol echai tevarech et shimcha Adonai Eloheinu. Continue silently on page 219. Now on page 220. Ilu fidu maleh shir hakayam. Ulshonehinu rina kamokana. Vesif totenu shevach kemacheve rakia. Einenu meirot kashemesh v'chayareya. Ve'yadinu frusot kenishrei shamayim. Ve'raglinu kalot kayalot. Eina anachnu maspikim lehodot lecha. Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Ve'imotenu. Continue silently. Okay, we're now on page 222, the second paragraph down here. Shochen ha'ad ma'arhom echad hoshem ha'ovecha tu berhanenu tzadikim Adonai v'yesharim na'avat tehilah Befi sharim titalalu divrei tzadikim titbarachu b'lshon chasidim titromamu b'kerev kedoshim titkadashu ma'kehalot Ribevot Hamchabei Israel Shimcha Malkeinu bechol dor v'ador Yabamai, Yabamai, Mai, Mai, Mai. Yabamai, Yabamai, Mai, Mai. Yabamai, 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 Mai, Mai, Mai. Hi, Yabamai, Yabamai, Mai, Mai. We rise in body or spirit as we turn to page 223 for the concluding blessing of Pesukei Simra, and then we'll remain standing through the Chatzi Kaddish and the Baruch Hu on the next page. Yishtabach Shimecha Alahad Malkeinu Ahel HaMelech HaGadol VeHaKadosh B'Shamayim u'Ba'aretz Ki Lefanai Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotinu ve'Imotinu Shirushacha Halav V'Zimra Sumem Shalom Netzach Gedula U'Gvurat Eila V'Tiferet Kedusha U'Malchut Brachot ve'hodahot me'atah ve'ad olam Baruch atah Adonai El melech gadol v'tishbachot El hodahot Adonai niflaot Abocher b'shirei zimra melech El ha'olamim Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah Galmad divrach pirutei ve'anich malchutei V'chayechonu v'yomechonu v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael B'hagala u'bizman kariv v'yimeru Amen Yesh mirama mevarach le'alam le'almei Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbahar v'yitramah v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekucha Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran me'ama v'imeru Amen. East is about that way. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. So we're now on page 228 and something new. Turn now to page 230. Me. We're going to read together in English at the top of the page, and then we'll do the Hebrew together at the bottom. How deeply you have loved us, Adonai our God, gracing us with surpassing compassion. On account of our forebears whose trust led you to teach them the laws of life, be gracious to us, teaching us as well. O merciful one, have mercy on us by making us able to understand and discern. to heed, learn, and teach, and lovingly to observe, perform, and fulfill all that is in your Torah. והערנו בתורתך ודבקנו במצוותיך ויחל לבבנו לאהבה וליראה את שמך ולא נבוש ולא ניכלם ולא ניכשל לעולם ועד, כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך, והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו, כי אל פועל ישועות אתה ובנו בחרת, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול סלע באמת, להודות לך ויחדך באהבה, ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל מאהבה. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני echad. Join together on page 234. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברתם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, ובשרתם מאוד על ידיך, והיו לתותפות מעיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. We're on page 236. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדמותם, ונתנו הציצית הכנף בתיל תפילת, והיה לכם לציצית, וראיתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Let's read together on the top of page 239. Emet, there is no place where you are not. Even in the wilderness, there is your word. Emet, that pen strokes of lightning, white fire, black flame, stir the soul's passion, guide our sacred way, true and enduring is Torah. Your truth for us is certain and established, now and forevermore. Like Moses, Miriam, and all Israel, we sing out and rejoice. As we turn to page 204. Tzur Yisrael, Uma Be'ezrat Yisrael, Ufedechenu Mecha, Yehuna Be'Yisrael, Go Aleinu, Adonai Tzvot Shemo, Kadosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai, Rahman Yisrael. Rise in body or spirit as we begin the Amidah together on page 242. Then continue silently. Please go at your own pace, and when you're finished, you may be seated. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. I know you just got comfortable sitting down, but if you just sat and you choose to do so, we're going to rise as we turn to page 324 for the repetition of the Amidah. And if you're still doing your own, please continue at your pace. You can catch up with us when you're ready. Again, page 324. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotzeinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor HaNorah El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim V'Koner HaKol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיים איתי מטרה להושיע, מוריד אתה, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיים איתי ברחמים רבים, צומח נופלים והופך עולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשנה יפה. מחמוך בגבורות ומינו מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ולמען אתה לחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. On page 326. מקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמכפישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש קדוש קדוש, אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ, כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו ואדיר שמך בכל הארץ ברוך כבוד אדוני מכל. אחד הוא אלוהינו אבינו ומכינו ומושיענו והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, hallelujah. We're on page 328. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד כל לך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד כל לך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך להקדיש, קדושתך להקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Please be seated. Now on the top of page 329. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. מקדשי שירי שבת, כולם יספרו ויתענגו מטובך שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו שבת. חמדת ימים אותו קראת שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו רצה רצה במנוחתנו Kadeshenu b'mitzvotecha v'ten chelkeinu b'toratecha Sameinu mituvecha v'samechenu b'shuatecha v'tahen libeinu le'ovdecha be'emet le'anachilenu Adonai Eloheinu, ay, 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 la, 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 ya, la, 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 ya, la, 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 ya, la, la, ya, la, la, B'ahava u'ratzon Shabbat kodshecha v'nukuva Yisrael mikadshe shemecha Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh ha-Shabbat. Let's turn to page 330. We'll read together in English. On this Shabbat day, as you graciously receive our prayers, help us to hear your call. Grant us enough health to fulfill our duties and the compassion we need to attend to others. Teach us humility that we may perceive our own faults, and grant us the wisdom to be forgiving of others. Give us the courage to be true to our highest selves and the charity to see the best in those around us. Give us patience enough not to become discouraged, hope enough to overcome all fears for the future, and faith enough to know your presence. O source of blessing, look with favor upon us. May our offerings be acceptable to you. Baruch atah Adonai, shotcha levacha biradna. Turn to page 332, and beginning at the bottom of the page, we'll read each English paragraph together, including each paragraph with the Hebrew words modim anachnu lach, offering our gratitude to God. For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations, modim anachnu lach. For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons, modim anachnu lach. For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements, modim anachnu lach. For human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression, modim anachnu lach. For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared, modim anachnu lach. For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom, modim anachnu lach. For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose, modim anachnu lach. We pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha u'lechana'ed lehodot. Sim Shalom, page 334. Sim Shalom, tova u'bracha, chen v'chesed berachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, v'acheinu yotzreinu kulanu kechad, ve'or panecha, ki ve'or panecha natata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu. Sim Shalom, tova u'bracha, chen v'chesed berachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, Torah chaim ya'avat chesed, u'tzedaka u'bracha berachamim mechayim v'shalom. Sim Shalom, tova u'bracha, chen v'chesed berachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, v'tov einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael, bechol עת ובכל שעה, בשלומך. שים שלום, טובה וברכה, Ten machased verachamim verachamim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol Yisrael ha'alecha Baruch atah Adonai hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. Let's read together on the bottom of page 336. I need strength, humility, courage, patience. Strength to control my passions, humility to assess my own worth, courage to rise above defeats, patience to cleanse myself of imperfections, and wisdom to learn and live by our sacred teachings. Let me not be discouraged by my failings. Let me take heart from all that is good and noble in my character. Keep me from falling victim to cynicism. Teach me sincerity and enthusiasm. Endow me with perception and courage that I may serve others with compassion and love. Ohoseh shalom bimrama, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei Tekel. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Whether you can take a little bit of a break. This is a real wonderful treat for so many reasons. Okay, this, if it's not clear to you, is the most people that have been in a service this close in proximity for our community in a very long time. And to do it, to celebrate Shabbat, certainly, that's important, but free, Boris, let's be honest. They're here to celebrate you, along with Shabbat and the Torah, and all those things. And what a celebration it's going to be in a couple of weeks. I don't get an opportunity to do that many ufros, and to do them for people who I truly adore and love. It's such a treat and such a privilege. So first, a thank you to the two of you for making the occasion to be here, to be with all of us. Thank you to your wonderful family, and I'm sure maybe some of your friends watching in there, just for being here with us and being part of this community, being able to celebrate in the way that we are going to celebrate you in a couple of weeks. So this morning, we're beginning the last book of the Torah, the book of Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy. And I'll just say this, there are some parshas in the Torah which are much easier to connect to an ufrav, and there are some that are perhaps a little bit more challenging. The book of Deuteronomy, in many ways, is Moses' last hurrah, his last speech to the people, and something like a parent to their child. A lot of the book has a certain kind of finger-wagging tone to it. A lot of the beginning of the portion is really kind of reminding all of the Israelites of many of the things that they maybe didn't do right along the way, or things they should have done better, or things of that nature. So it's actually a quintessentially Jewish text in many ways in that regard. But when you dig a little bit deeper, there's one pasuk, one thing that I think stands out to me that is, at first glance, something challenging, but a little bit deeper is actually something quite beautiful and something especially relevant, I think, for the two of you right now. So for those that are following, if you have the book in front of you, if you have one that looks like this, sort of darker colored one, we're on page 1161. And if you have a green covered Women's Torah commentary, we're on page 1041. And actually, we're going to skip ahead to the 6th verse, which is actually on the next page. And it says, in Hebrew, Adonai Eloheinu diber eleinu bechorev lemor. Rav lachem shevet bahar hazeh. Okay, so after telling the sort of history of the Israelites wandering in the desert, getting to Mount Sinai, a different name that's used here for Mount Sinai is known as Horeb. Okay, but what does it say in verse 6? That the eternal our God spoke to us at Horeb, saying, Rav lachem, that you have stayed long enough at the mountain. That you have stayed long enough at the mountain. So what does it mean, at least on a surface level? Okay. And this is what you probably hear from parents all the time, waiting for their children to get married. Why aren't you married already? Right? Why are we waiting so, right? But in your case, of course, that is not the circumstance. You guys should have, we would have wanted to marry you a year ago. But you have this sense, this feeling of what it means to be in that kind of space where you're neither here nor there. You're kind of in something of a holding pattern. And while on the one hand, again, we could read this text and assume that this is actually a sort of criticism of the people. right? That they waylaid themselves, that they should have been moving on. What Rashi says really is that this idea of Rav Lachim, where we translated here as you stayed long enough, there he says actually that it's an excessive amount of time. Now again, it sounds like it's getting worse, but I'm going to try to explain how it gets better. So there is a teaching of the Rebbe, of the last of the Schneerson Rebbes of the Chabad movement, and he takes this idea and he sort of turns it around. He says that it's not about excessive in the negative, right? It's about a human tendency that we can sometimes be trapped in inertia, right? We can be trapped in the sort of thing that's just propelling us forward or keeping us in a sort of stasis of some sort. And that part of the expectation of God, of the Jewish people, is that we can't ever rest in one place for too long. There needs to be a sense of moving forward, a sense of trying to pursue something that is going to pull us, again, in an even greater direction. And sometimes, of course, we have to be in that space where we're waiting. Waiting is an important part of life too. But being able to project that forward sense that there's somewhere else that we want to be and that we're going. And when I read this text and I thought about the two of you, and in particular what you've shared with me about your relationship, about what you appreciate about each other, there are many things. But one of the things that really stuck out to me was that you love that you sort of propel each other forward in the best possible way, right? That you're not pushing each other, you're not shoving each other, you're not saying you need to be something else. But you realize that, right, life is about growth. Life is about developing. Life is about looking for the opportunities to move forward. And while certainly nobody would blame either of you for wanting to wait till you could be with your family and your friends, right? The last year was not a waiting pattern for the sake of waiting pattern. And the two of you actually did the opposite, right? You knew almost intrinsically, Rav Lachem, right, that it was too much time being static, that you weren't going to let the world, even in a shutdown fashion, stop the two of you from growing together, from pushing each other to do things that perhaps are, a little bit of a stretch at first, but then become part of yourselves. This is what this is really all about. And it's not God or Moshe trying to tell the people they've done something wrong. It's really a realization that all of us, I think, need to have that kind of mentality, that there is a sense that we can always be learning, we can always be growing, and we can always be moving ourselves forward. And for the two of you, again, you do this so naturally, but don't take it for granted. Don't assume that everybody in every relationship has that dynamic. Okay, what you know intrinsically is one of the gifts that you give to each other. So know that it is part of our sort of general ethos, right? Our general senses as part of the Jewish people, but it's also very much the two of you, and something that I really, truly adore and I celebrate. So I thank you both really for being who you are in relationship with each other. And as I said, for giving us the privilege of being able to celebrate you this Shabbat, and then in a couple of weeks underneath the chuppah. And with that, I wish you guys, all of you guys, with you a Shabbat Shalom and many, many blessings. And in just a little bit, when we start our Torah service, you're going to help to bless our Torah reading, and we'll be able to celebrate you guys in a second. So you can relax for a moment. I'm going to just shift a few things out of the way. Yeah, that's probably fine right there. Right? So just to explain, a few of our things are a little different these days. We don't have, normally we'd have 3 aliyahs. We'd have more people coming up and sitting down. For obvious reasons, we're keeping that a little bit limited this morning. So we're going to do 1 aliyah. And again, we're going to start from the very beginning of the portion. And before we get to our reading, we'll go back to our prayer books and turn to page 362. 362. And we rise in body or spirit. Again, from the beginning of Seder Kriyat Torah, page 362. Ein kamocha b'Elohim Adonai ve'en k'ma'asecha malchutcha malchut kol olamim u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Adonai Amos Lamo Yiten, Adonai Barech et Amo Bashalom, Abba Harachamim, Eti Babertzoncha, Et Zion, Tivnei Chomot, Yerushalayim, Ki Mechalev Habatatu, Melech el Rameni adon olamim. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Udevar Adonai miYerushalayim. Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Le'amo Yisrael miKdushato. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo. Galul Adonai Tiyone Halema Shem Hoyachtav. Lecha Adonai Hagedula Ve'agevura Ve'atiferet Ve'anetzach Ve'ahod Ki Chol Bashamayim U'Ba'aretz Ki Chol Bashamayim U'Ba'aretz Lecha Adonai HaMamlacha Ve'amid Na'aseh Lechol Rosh Romenu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'ishtachavu Le'ahar Kodsho Romenu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'ishtachavu Le'ahar Kodsho. Okay, please be seated. So just a reminder, we're going to start our reading from the very beginning of the book of Deuteronomy, the book of Dvarim. If you have the green Women's Torah commentary, that begins on page 1041. And if you have the darker colored Chumash, it begins on 1161. And for the honor of blessing the Torah this morning, we're going to welcome up our couple, Brit and Boris. Ya'amdu. So what your name is? Orly Devorah Bat Reuben Meir Vet Baruch Ben Shaya Lalia Harishona. I'm going to show you just where we're starting here. Just take the end of your talit and touch it there. Just give it. There you go. Just gonna start.
Baruch Hu Adonai Habrach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Haolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu b'kol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Natein HaTorah.
Amen. Amen. Ele hadvarim asher diber Moshe el kol Yisrael be'ever hayarden bamidbar barava Mosuf ben Paran uben Tofel Belavan v'chatzerot bedi zahav achad asar yom mechorev derech har seir ad kardesh barnea vayehi barba'im shana v'shte asar chodesh ve'achad lachodesh Diber Moshe el bnei Yisrael kechol asher tziva Adonai oto alehem acharei hakoto et Sichon melech ha'emori, asher yoshev b'cheshbon ve'et Og melech habashan asher yoshev ba'ashterot be'edraim be'ever hayarden be'eretz Moav ho'yil Moshe be'er et haTorah hazot lemor Adonai Eloheinu diber elenu bechoreb lemor Rav lachem shevet bahar hazeh Benu useu lachem Ubahu har hamori vet kol shechenav Barva bahar Uveshvela, Uvanegev, Uvechoref, Hayam, Eretz HaKanani, Vahal Lebanon, Adhanar, Hagadol, Nahar Paret, Re'eh, Natati Lifnechem, Et Eretz, Et Haaretz, Ba'u, Urshu, Et Haaretz, Asher nishpa Adonai La'avotechem L'Avraham Litzchak U'Yaakov Latet lahem U'Lezaram Acharehem Vayomer Alechem Etahi Lemor Lo Uchal Levadi Se'et Etchem Adonai Elohechem Hirba Etchem והניחם היום כחובי השמיים לרוב, ואדוני אלוהי אבותיכם יוסף עליכם ככם 1000 פעמים, ויברך אתכם כאשר דיבר לכם. Do the same thing with your this.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah v'chayei olam natan b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai natein haTorah.
Amen. Simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, Reimburse, we love you guys. We bless you guys. Everyone here, everybody's watching, everyone be there with us in a couple of weeks. We are privileged to know you, certainly as individuals, but much more privileged to know you as a couple. Everything that you embody, everything that you live, everything that you love about each other, everything that your families have instilled in you, everything that our tradition has taught you, leads to these moments. Don't let the next couple of weeks fly by. Treasure, and then treasure every day after that. We love you both. Giving you a big hug from here.
Yeah.
And now you guys can just relax a little and you can eat some candy. That's actually the first time in years that I've even seen it, because in the temple with the stained glass windows, we've never been able to do it. I'm curious to know what you chose, but you know, since there's only one kid in the room, it's all yours. It's all one. I was gonna say, what? Okay, that's very. There's a couple right there.
You collect no candy.
This is a sacred obligation.
Like your candy.
Can I have one?
There's one. Don't worry, if we don't get everyone, we'll get them. Can I ask permission from, can I bring one of these home to my daughter? Would that be okay with you? Very sweet.
Moshe said to share.
Okay, that's good. Moshe says to share. Very good. I love it. Okay, guys, you can be seated for now. And in a moment, we're going to lift and dress the Torah. Before we do that, though, we're going to think of those in our lives, those in our community, and remembering those around the world who are in need of healing. So we're going to turn to page 371 in our prayer book as we offer our Mishaberach for this morning. Mishaberach Avotenu v'Imotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah u'Varech et hacholim ha'elu. We'll begin by thinking of those in our community and connected to our community that we are praying for this morning. Chana Ruth Bat Sarah, Roberta Kyle, Jeff Baker, David Tasher, Jim Cohn, Monique Renee Banks Rathbun, Lindsay Epstein, Dolores Michka, Sylvia Orn, Yerachmiel Ben Hinda, Paloma Chauhan, Samuel Moskowitz, Audrey Lubo, Chaim Leib, Robert Posner and Joyce Weinberg, Rick Gold, Stu Pollack, Jane London, Catherine Guarino, Emunah Chaba, Deirdre Klein, Stephanie Skitt, Judy Stern, Miriam Cornfield, Raz Brody, Chana Ruth Bat Sarah, Susan Spruce, Fagel Tzipora Bat Elisheva Bat Sarah, Richard Gambino, Michelle Sawicki, Idol Basha Bat Yitzchak, Tzvi Menachem Ben Chaim, Rivka Bat Devorah, Amy and Gavin Tucker, Janice Kurz, David Dowling, Israel Ben Yitzchak, Ben Sion Ben Moshe, Lorraine Danis, Buddy Krasov, Shelley Newmark, David Kyle Klopman, Rivka Bat Rachel, Sarah Bat Chana, Moshe Eliezer Ben Sivya, Peretz Ben Yehuda, Leah Bat Naomi, and Gedalia Bat Leah. Gedalia Ben Leah. If anyone this morning is thinking of anyone that you'd like to mention, we'll start on this side of the room. If you have at least a few people that you want to mention, just raise your hand so I make sure I acknowledge everyone. Anybody on this side of the room we're thinking of? Side of anybody?
David Metz.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rachamim Aleichem Lahachalimam L'Rachotam L'Chazikam V'Yishlach Lehem Mehira Refuah Shlema Min HaShamayim Refuat HaNefesh Refuat HaGuf Hashta B'Agalav Zman Kariv and Amar. Amen. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah bless and heal those who are suffering. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit, and let us say together, Amen. El na refana la, el na refana la, el na refana la, refuah shelema. El na refana lo, el na refana lo, el na refana lo. And for the honor of Hag Ben Galila, which would be the first Hag Ben Galila done by someone other than me in more than a year, we're going to welcome up Boris and Adam, who are going to help out. Adam over there, good. Okay, and I think Adam's going to do the lifting. Boris going to, Boris. Igor is going to do the dressing, and we'll invite everyone to rise in body or spirit as we turn to the bottom of page 370. Yamod Hamagbiya Hagolel. So this one is about as easy as we and then Igor, she wants to go around the wimples right there. You done this before?
First time.
Oh, okay. So here, I'll show you. This actually I learned from my rabbi over there. Rabbi David.
Yeah?
It's all right. You just unscroll this just a little bit to either side. This. And what you're going to do is rather than, well, this one you can probably just lift straight up. It won't be a problem. But okay, very good. And then you turn around. Bezot HaTorah Asher Sam Moshe Lifnei Bnei Yisrael Al Pi Adonai B'Yad Moshe. Very good. Torah, 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 Torah. Tzivah lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Torah. Torah, Tzivah lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Torah. Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, Torah, Torah. Torah, Torah, Torah. Torah tziva lanu Moshe. What's your name? Hannah? Very nice to have you both up here. Igor and Hannah, thank you so much for helping us. It's been great for first time. Just you'll come back next time when it's the bigger one.
Oh, yeah. True test.
Yeah. Please be seated, everyone. Just give me one more second to get resituated. So in the Jewish calendar, we are in something of a unique space. This evening begins the holiday of Tisha B'Av, which for those that are knowledgeable of it will know that it is not exactly the happiest of holidays, to say the very least. And in the 3 weeks leading up to the holiday, we read 3 sections of the prophets for our Haftarot, which prepare us for the story of the destruction of Jerusalem, destruction of the temple. And while that may seem, again, like a sort of antithetical concept to bring up when we are celebrating, Judaism is a remarkable religion in that it has many instances in which we are meant to hold both places in our minds, right? Both feelings, right? Of joy and of sadness, of celebration, and of challenge and struggle. And I think the last year, if anything has taught us anything, right, is that is really life. That is where we live, right? It's not just about pandemics. We oftentimes are in a place in which we may be struggling or sad about one thing, and yet our tradition commands us that in times of being joyful, we must be joyful. Okay, we must be celebratory. And in times in which we need to take serious consideration that we are capable as human beings of shifting into that mode without living in that mode, right? Same idea, Rav Lachem, Shevet Ahar, right? Same principle applies, right? We need to remain, on the one hand, present, but never stuck, okay? So while some of our Haftarah this morning might be a little bit, challenging to hear, to remember and not lose any of that joy, any of that celebration that we've had so far. So we're going to go, if you have the Women's Torah commentary, unfortunately, it's not available in there, so you're going to have to do more sort of active listening. If you have a Cloud Chumash, the darker colored one, we'll begin our Haftarah reading on page 1180 and 1180. And if you're following along at home, you're looking for the prophet Isaiah, chapter 1, verses 1 to 27. Before I'll begin reading, offer the blessings first. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratza b'divrehem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai abocher b'torah u'Moshe avno v'Yisrael amo u'b'nmi'eh ha'emet b'tzedek. The vision of Isaiah, son of Amos, that he beheld concerning Judah and Yerushalayim in the reigns of Uzziah, Yotam, Achaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. Hear, O heavens, and listen, O earth, for the Eternal has spoken. I reared children and brought them up, and they have rebelled against me. The ox knows its owner, and the ass its master's stall, but Israel does not know. My people does not consider. A sinful nation, people weighed down by iniquity. Brood of evildoers, destructive children who have forsaken the Eternal, despised the Holy One of Israel, estranged themselves from God. Why invite yet more beatings that you continue your rebellion? The whole head is sick, and the whole heart is ill. From head to foot, nothing is sound, injuries, bruises, fresh wounds, not dressed, nor bound, nor softened with oil. Your land is desolate, your cities burnt down, strangers consume your land before your eyes. It is a desolation like Sodom overthrown. Only fair Zion is left. She is like a booth in a vineyard, like a hut in a cucumber field, like a city under siege. Had not the God of heaven's hosts left us a remnant, we should have already been like Sodom. We should have seemed like Gomorrah. Hear the word of the Eternal, the rulers of Sodom. Listen to the teachings of our God, your people of Gomorrah. What are your many sacrifices to me, says the Eternal One? I am sated with the rams you bring as burnt offerings, the fat of your fine animals. I take no delight in the blood of bulls or lambs or goats. When you come to seek my presence, who asked this to trample my courts? Bring me no more futile offerings. Incense is an abomination. New moon and Sabbath, the calling of assemblies. I cannot endure festivities along with Eden. I hate your new moons, Your festival days, they are a burden to me. I can bear them no more. When you stretch out your hands, I will avert my eyes from you. However much you pray, I will not listen, while your hands are filled with blood. Wash yourselves, cleanse yourselves, put your evil doings away from my sight, cease to do evil, learn to do good, seek justice, relieve the oppressed, uphold the orphan's rights, take up the widow's cause. Come now, says the Eternal One, let us reason together. Though your sins be scarlet, they can become white as snow. Though they be dyed crimson, they can become like fleece. If you are willing and obey, you shall eat the good things of the earth. But if you refuse and rebel, you shall be devoured by the sword, for the Eternal One has spoken. Oh, how the faithful city played the whore. Once she was so full of justice, righteousness dwelt there, and now murderers. Your silver has turned to dross, your wine is diluted with water. Your rulers are rebels, cronies of thieves. Every one of them loves bribes and is avid for graft. They do not decide the orphan's case. The widow's cause never comes before them. Therefore, says the sovereign, the God of heaven's hosts, the mighty one of Israel, enough. I will rid myself of my foes and revenge myself of my enemies. Again and again, I will raise my hand to you, smelt away your dross as if with lye, and rid you of your slab. And I will restore your judges as in the beginning, and your counselors as in days of old. Then shall you be called righteous city, faithful town. Zion shall be redeemed by justice, and its repentant people by righteousness. Told you it was heavy. Amen. We'll turn back now to our prayer books, page 372, for the concluding blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, tzadik bechol hadorot, ha'el haneman haomer v'yosef, hamdaber u'mkayem, shekol dvarav emet v'tzedek, al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al nisim ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh, שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו לקדושה ולמנוחה לכבוד ולתפארת על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת Amen. Now I invite everyone to rise in body or spirit as we offer first a prayer for our country on page 376, and then a prayer for the state of Israel on page 377. You can join with me in the middle of page 376. Thus says Adonai, this is what I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of lawlessness, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke. Share your bread with the hungry and take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, give clothing and do not ignore your own kin. If you banish the yoke from your midst, the menacing hand, the evil speech, if you offer compassion to the hungry and satisfy the famished creature, then your light shall shine in darkness. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit. Amen. Prayer for the state of Israel, page 377. Avinu Shabashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'goalo, Barechet Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Tzmichat Geulatin. Hagen aleha be'evrat chastecha, ufros aleha sukat shlomecha, ushlach orcha v'amitcha l'rasheha, sareha v'yoatzev. V'taknem be'etzat tova milfanecha, v'natata shalom ba'aretz, v'simchat olam liyoshveha v'nomar. Amen. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love, spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. Remain standing as we turn back to page 374. And Kent, if you want to come back up, welcome. And page 374. Yeah, hallelujah, Shem Adonai, Kiniskav Shem Olevato, Odo al Eretz Veshamayim, Vayarem Keren Le'amu, Tehila Lechol Chasida, Livnei Yisrael Am Kerovo, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Ki lekach tov natati lachem torati al tazofu etz chaim hi lama chazikim ba v'tomechea meushar teracheha darfein hoam v'chol v'tiboteha shalom hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuvah Kadesh Kadesh Yameinu Kadesh Yameinu We'll remain standing and face east as we turn to page 586 at the very bottom of the page. Aleinu l'shabech. Aleinu l'shabech ladon hakol latekidua liyotzeh breshit shelo asanu kegoyeh haratzah velo samanu kemishpechat ha'adamah shelo sam chelkenu kahem v'gor aleinu kefal hamunam ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 591. ונאמר היה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. Now invite those in mourning and those observing yard site to please remain standing. Everyone else may be seated. We think first of those who passed in our community in recent months. Miles Ambrose, Morris Dickstein, Fred Eber, Sandra Furman, Evelyn Gelb, Lucy Gladstone, Phyllis Katz, Jeanette Kopp, Morty Lynn, Jerry Monroe, Madge Judith Parcher, Steve Popkin, Danielle Lisa Rigg, Geraldine Rosen, Harriet Roth, Paul Silver, Marlise Silverberg, Blanche Sklar, Rita Snyder, Joan Strong Tangzilius, Virginia Tizer, and Ann Weiss. We also marked the yard sites that occurred during the last week for Hyman Block, Harry Bryant, Paul Buckman, Seymour Cohen, Benjamin Deinitz, Andrew Ruben Ecker, Lila Ehrenbard, Hannah Epstein, Evelyn Frankel, Walter Goldhill, Abraham Goodstone, Charlotte Gruen, Elaine Gruenstein, Marion Hammer, Bernard Emmanuel Jacoby, Lester Cass, Tobias Mayer, Jeannie Morris, Lynn Ostro, Louis Schoenbach, Susie Schwartz, Joanna Susser, Marjorie Weinberg Berman, Nathaniel Weinstein, Bessie Weisberg, Isidore Weiss, Bernard Zeiler, and Philip Zuck. Does anyone else have a name of someone for whom you're saying Kaddish this morning that you'd like to share? In solidarity with those remembering their loved ones, we'll rise as the mourners join me at home or here on page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma tivrach irtei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ha'galah b'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lamei almayim, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbahar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kusha b'richu, le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata, tush v'chata v'nechamata, Damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may every one of their memories be for a blessing. Please be seated, everybody. Shabbat shalom. Good Shabbos. Mazel tov. It's great. It's a preemptive mazel tov, but it's a mazel tov. We're getting to this point. The next 2 weeks are going to be great. They're going to go by very quickly. And then it's just an amazing thing. So Bree, Forrest, thank you. Thank you to your wonderful family for being here. Thank you to our people for being here. Thank you, Kit, Lauren. A lot of thank yous to go around this morning. But, you know, how can you not be grateful on a day like this? It's really, truly wonderful. Thank you to everybody who is watching at home as well. Just a few announcements before we conclude our service. The first is for those interested, our Zoom Torah service, Torah study will begin at 12 o'clock, relatively sharp. So anybody who's here who wants to rush home for Torah study, you should have time. But hopefully we'll see you all on Zoom at 12 o'clock. Reminder, as I said, that this evening, the holiday of Tisha B'Av begins at sundown. And as we have for many years, we will read the book of Eicha together with Rabbi Jan Urbach and her community of the Conservative Synagogue of the Hamptons. This year, as last year, we'll be on Zoom. Hopefully by next year, we will be back together. Shabbos doesn't really end until pretty late these days, so the service won't begin until 9:15 p.m. Again, welcome to anybody who would like to join us tonight. Just a reminder also that tomorrow, the Women's Rosh Chodesh group will be having its meeting at 4:30. The Nina Mitzvah group will be meeting on Monday at 11:30. Social Justice Committee will be meeting on Zoom at 5 o'clock. My class on Rabbi Abraham and Joshua Heschel and his book on the prophets is on Wednesdays at 12 o'clock, and a Journey to the Heart of the Siddur is on Fridays at 9 o'clock. We hope the weather will be nice next week for Shabbat by the Bay, so you're welcome to come. Good for little ones, good for anybody. We'll start at 5 o'clock with a little bit of schmoozing time and a Tikkun Olam project, social justice project, and then service will begin at 5:30. This is at Havens Beach, just down the street. And hopefully we'll see you there. And the reminder that our regular service will be here in the main sanctuary at 7:30. Also a reminder of a few events coming up at the end of the month. Sunday, July 25th at 11 o'clock, Ruth Joseph's book group will be meeting. If you're interested in joining, please contact Ruth directly. Also, we will be having a variety show featuring temple members. So you can imagine there's a lot of talents that we're looking for still. Otherwise, really, it's going to be like mostly me, which is not good. But again, Sunday, July 25th, we have a great location. There's a little field right next to the Christ Episcopal Church, just down the street. And so the only thing is bring a chair, bring something to sit on of some sort, and we'll see you again Sunday, July 25th at 5 p.m. Also on Thursday, July 29th at 7 p.m., our wonderful member, Dr. Steve Rosen, and myself will engage in a conversation on religion and science, prophecy and prediction that will be moderated by our fellow member, Judy Klinghoffer. Again, that'll be on Zoom, July 29th at 7. Beyond that, our August calendar should be coming out very soon. And again, in a few weeks, we will celebrate you guys and really just nothing but joy, nothing but celebration. And really, again, thank you to all for being here this morning. So we're going to conclude our service with, let's do Ein Kelohenu this morning, and then we'll do Kiddush. So Ein Kelohenu is on page 626. Cantor's on it. Ein Kelohenu, Ein Kelohenu, Ein Kemokeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Michelohenu, Michadonenu, Michemokeinu, Michemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Elokeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. I'll invite those here and at home to rise in body or spirit as we do Kiddush together on page 604. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat letorot ha'beritolah, beini u'bein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. על כן ברך אדוני את יום השבת ויקדשהו סברי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הכפר. Amen. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Shabbat shalom. Mazel tov. And I'll turn the stream off.